Hey guys, it's Brian from Brian B Fitness, and today we're going to be talking about how you can manage overeating. Stay tuned. So, tip number one on ways to manage overeating is don't be in a massive calorie deficit. You might be tempted to have a massive calorie deficit to help you lose weight quicker. However, the bigger the deficit, the higher chance you'll lose muscle mass, be hungry all the time, have low energy at the gym and your day-to-day life, and overall, you'll be irritable and won't be in a good mood. However, there are always exceptions to this rule, and these are for people who have a lot of weight to lose. I'm talking people whose body fat is more than half their body weight. So someone who's 200 kilos and 110 of that is fat, then yeah, you should probably look into doing radical things to help get your weight down to a more manageable number so you can diet correctly. However, if you only have around 10, 20 kilos to lose, maybe even up to 30, you are better off with a less aggressive approach and using a low to moderate calorie deficit instead of a high calorie deficit. Using a moderate to low calorie deficit will help lessen the effects I mentioned earlier. You'll lessen the chance of losing muscle mass. You won't be as hungry. You'll have a bit more energy in day-to-day life and at the gym. And overall, you'll be less grumpy. So tip number one on how to manage overeating is to use a low to moderate calorie deficit. You'll be less hungry and lessen the chance of overeating. Tip number two for ways to manage your overeating is to not restrict your food. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You've cut out most carbs from your diet. The only carbs that you're eating are vegetables and salads. Things are going well, but one day, a few weeks into it, you get the urge to eat something sugary. You do it, and before you know it, you've eaten a whole box of cereal. This story actually happened to me when I was young and didn't really know what I was doing, and I used to restrict a lot of foods because I thought that's the way to lose fat quickly. For me, it ended up being a big box of Cocoa Pops. I'm sure you can relate, or there's something that you've binged on because you restricted it so much. So a good way to manage your eating is not to cut out any of the foods or food groups that you enjoy. It's a common practice when trying to lose fat to cut out carbs or fat, but don't do that. Like the story I shared earlier with my own experience, when you actually eat the food eventually, because you will unless you live in a rock or have no access to all these yummy foods, then you're going to go ape shit and devour more than you should. So what should you do instead? There are two ways to manage this. One is to reduce the overall amount that you are eating. So instead of buying a large Coke, get a medium or small. Instead of that triple layered beef burger, have the single layered beef burger instead. A second way to manage this is to swap out or find healthier alternatives. Instead of regular Coke, get Coke no sugar. I'm sure you'll get used to the taste. Not that I can taste the difference between Coke and Coke no sugar, even though a lot of people swear there's a big difference between the two. Again, instead of having full fat cheese, have low fat cheese. We live in a day and age where everything that you can think of has some sort of healthy alternatives. So there's no reason for you not to find an alternative to foods that you like or reduce the amounts of foods that you are eating. So instead of restricting calories, reduce the amount you eat or find healthier alternatives. That's tip number two. So tip number three is to eat more protein. Protein has a lot more benefits than simply building muscle, which is what a lot of people know it for. Protein helps build and repair our muscles, joints, ligaments, bones, and they play a factor in a lot of other processes in our body. Protein helps us feel fuller for longer because protein takes a lot longer to digest than fats and carbs. How much protein should you eat? A bare minimum, I'm talking the lowest you should consume daily, is your body weight in kilograms. If you are 60 kilograms, then eat at least 60 grams of protein. On the higher end would be double your body weight in kilograms. So if you are 60 kilos, then ideally you should be eating 120 kilos per day. Tip number 4 is to eat your vegetables and salads. Vegetables and salads contain nutrients our body needs to function optimally. Eating enough vegetables and salads helps us manage overeating because it will help us keep us fuller for longer. There are so many different kinds of vegetables and salads and different versions. Think iceberg lettuce and cos lettuce. Find ones that you enjoy and eat them. How much vegetables or salad should you have? At least 375 grams per day or 5 fistfuls. For both tip number 3 and 4, the recommendations are what you eventually want to be able to build up to eating daily. Now, I know a lot of you don't even come close to the numbers mentioned, so a good way is to just pick a number that you can confidently hit every day, and once you are able to consistently eat that amount for a few weeks, increase the amount you eat until you reach the optimal amount. So for example, say I'm 100 kilos and I start off eating just 100 kilos of protein. I do that for 2 weeks, and then I increase it to 110 for the next 2 weeks, and so on and so forth until I get close to 200 grams of protein per day. The same with vegetables. I know a lot of people don't like eating it, but like I mentioned earlier, you're an adult, eat your damn vegetables. It's not that hard. There are a lot of different ones out there, so find ones that you enjoy. So say, you start off eating 100 grams for 2 weeks. And then once you get used to that, eat 150 grams and so on and so forth. The main point is to progress and eventually reach the optimal number. I myself don't always hit the optimal number, but 90% of the time I do because I've been able to build up to it. Before I started doing this, my vegetable intake was probably around 100 to 150 grams per day, so less than half of the recommended intake. Now I eat close to 3 to 375 grams per day, but it took me a few weeks to build up to it. So remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. So there you have it. 4 ways that you can manage overeating. I hope that you guys can take some of what you've learned today and apply it to your own self, because being healthy should be a priority for everyone. And it's not about getting the 6-pack level or getting photo shoot ready, because it's very hard to get to that level. It's about being in a manageable weight where your health markers are in the appropriate ranges and you don't feel like shit because you have no energy from your lack of exercise or lack of good nutrients. So hopefully take some of these tips, apply it to yourself. Stick around, subscribe, so as I talk about other fitness related things. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.